Oh yeah, and I forgot to tell you something. My Fossora review got blocked in USA and Canada, so if you can't see it anymore, that's why, and that's also why I'm going to cut this album a little bit heavier because I don't want it to be blocked in USA and Canada because I want to let the people that if had to watch this reaction, and so yeah, that's why. If you were wondering, so um, have fun with the video. Today I'll be going to react and review the first Bjork album I'm going to do in her discography, besides Fossora that I did as a first listen, which is still a very great experimental outer worldly album. And I really love to do that review because it was such a different album. I've never listened to anything like that. It was like invented music for herself or something, but it was really great. But right now, I wanted to start like I talked with some people in the comments. Where should I go next? And we all came to the like end that I should start right at the beginning of Björk's discography, so I get kind of a hang of how she ended up with Fossora. Um, so I don't know anything about this album. I don't know what I'm gonna get into if it's like very experimental right at the start of her career. Also, I mean, this is like 35 years before, right? Wait, 7 years, nine. No, hold up. It's 29 years later when Fossora released. So it's 29 years ago when the debut album came out. But I mean, there was an album before of debut Björk put out. There was like this 11 or 12-year-old child album she did as when she was like 12 or 11. But I'm not going to do that, obviously. And I mean, people are also not really crazy about it. As I read through some things people said about the album, but it's kind of like very funny. Maybe I listen to it for fun, just kind of like to see why she did now with 11 or 12 or how it sounds. But I mean, I don't know anything about this album here. Is she have shared self-released title album in Iceland when she was 11 years ago old, right? That what I'm talking about. One of the first albums to introduce electronic music into mainstream pop. The album represents a departure from the alternative rock sound of the Sugarcubes, a former band. So she was in a former band. That's interesting. I never heard of it. Björk had relocated to London, embracing its dance music scene. Thus, debut mainly incorporates house music. Also, the influence of the burgeoning trip hop scene is also evident. Alright. Also, the record label 600,000 copies, 5 singles. Sounds great. First track is called Human Behaviour, produced by Nelly Hooper. So let's see. First time listening to debut Björk. Let's see. Okay, right from the start, it really sounds like more pop oriented art pop, not the very experimental side of art pop. It's way more accessible, easy to listen to, with some nice sounds right here. Those percussion drums sounds great. The kind of like trippy electric guitars that sound very digital somehow in the back right there. And Björk really sings more conventional maybe, like she had some really weird rhythms and highs and lows with her voice on Fossora. So right here she is more like pretty basic with her voice, while it still sounds very different. For example, when this gibberish comes, I don't know why it's called gibberish or why she does gibberish. I mean, songwriting wise, it's pretty easy to understand. If you get close to a human, she just talks about it. Humans are so weird, we behave so weird, and some people may get confused when talking to a human, which is like pretty normal thing, but it's just like funny how she how she writes about that. They terribly moody, that's true. Then all of a sudden turn happy. So these different emotions are really confusing that people have and humans have, and it's very satisfying. Okay, that's interesting. And there is no map. Like, you can't just explain why people are really feeling like that right at the minutes, and you can't, as a person that is not the other person, really look into the other person, which obviously makes sense. So yeah, pretty interesting track right as a beginning for a first track to Björk. Really nice. It has also really good sound. I like it.
Welcome the exchange of human emotions.
And she really has a strong voice sometimes when she really gets that growling out. It's so powerful. She has a really good voice. And really comes across at this track right here. I haven't thought that she has such a really strong and very direct voice, because when I was listening to Fossora, that was like times in the album where I thought she tries to be as different as possible with her voice or her singing, and right here it's just like, it reminds me of some other pop artists like Adele. I mean, everybody knows Adele. It kind of gets me the feeling of that right now, but I like it right here. It's pretty nice. Yeah, good track. I liked that one. It was basic, was easy to understand, nice to listen to, easily listening. Had some interesting pop sides to the production right here, that goes into art pop, but not entirely, with some really different ideas, but not makes it too experimental and out of there. But I'm feeling a very positive feeling on this track right here. It's like between a 10 and a 9. I think that the first track was perfect right here, and I didn't expect anything like that, but let's see if the album is maybe entirely like that. Let's see. Second track is called Crying. Alright, very trip hoppy. Very interesting sound on this one. Very poppy, kind of has this dance feeling they talked about. Maybe also in the British scene, in the disco scene, when there was like more of a trip hop and techno influence in the mainstream music. Very interesting. Kind of reminds me of there's one radio track by right here. Is it Sound of Silence? Is it right? No, wait. Hold up. Not Sound of Silence. Wait. Depeche Mode. How is the track called? Depeche Mode. Enjoy the Silence. Right. Enjoy the Silence kind of reminds me of that with not the very deep, dark things going on, with more upbeat and this really like pretty cheap piano in this track. Like it doesn't sound grand or anything. It's very maybe even digital, but I mean, the track does this thing, and I like it for that. Pretty nice.
There's no one here. Just something. Crying 'cause I need
I mean, songwriting wise, it also was pretty typical pop songwriting, easy to listen along to, easy to remember, catchy, good chorus, a nice rhythm. I didn't expect anything like this. I mean, it's like so pop and reeks of the 90s and the underground pop scene that was kind of like going more in the mainstream, which they also like wrote in the beginning right there. It really sounds like that. And I kind of like it. It also had this sophistic pop feeling, just a little bit more upbeat with some disco tops and stuff, and with so much going on with a mix right here at the second track. While I still think that the piano sounds a little bit too cheap, but still good track, and I'm feeling an 8 on that one. Nice. So let's move on to the third track, Venus as a Boy.
He's with you.
I really like this track right here. It's really nice to listen along to. First, I thought that those bottle sounds were very weird and thought, why is that in there? But with listening some more, when the track evolves with some more different structures and instrumentals coming in, it kind of like makes sense, and it gives this track a really weird feeling, a kind of like also Eastern feeling. I don't know why, some Egyptian feeling. Maybe those strings do that. That sounds very good. Like the musical palette on this one is really nice. There are these really nice little ambient xylophones or something that sound really good. Overall, a very well produced track. The songwriting is pretty nice. Like obviously about some like Roman god being a boy, while I think Venus was the goddess of, I don't know, love or something. I don't know, but it kind of makes sense in the songwriting and sounds very good. Also, really like those gibberish things. Like it sounds like she's saying something, but you can't really understand it, and it kind of like adds just something to the melody and the texture. So I like that she uses something as unconventional like that. Also in the pop track, really funny kind of. But yeah, I like this track.
The taste of
That was my favorite track so far. I mean, we have 3 tracks in this album, but I think that that one was really beautiful. The strings were amazing. The sound is amazing. Had some trip hop feeling with some sophistic pop and some other different ideas flowing into this thing. It's really nice sounding, and there's just so much to the sound of that track. Also with her vocals, they are so beautiful and really encapsulates when she's like doing this chorus. He believes in a beauty. He's Venus as a boy. Such a well written and just performed track right there. I'm feeling a 10 on Venus as a boy. Really good. So let's move on to the fourth track. I've been wondering why. There's more to life than this. Life at the milk bar toilets. So let's see what she recorded on the toilet.
I could nick a boat and sneak off to this island.
What the hell is happening right now? Why is she recording this on a toilet? Is my first question. Second question, you can hear people in the back. It's like the milk. What is a milk bar? Is that like a restaurant I don't know about? I don't know. And why was the sound when the door opened not there anymore? And really compressed, and then she was like, we could nick a boat and sneak off to this island. I could bring my little ghetto blaster. That's just so funny. I don't know why. And also, why? I mean, she could do a studio version of this, and it would be like fine. But I mean, this very disco-like kind of basic beat is just so funny to me when there's just like this very really well sung Björk verses. Come on, girl, let's sneak out on this party. There's more to life than this, and it's just so funny that you think about life could be more than your situation right now you are in while recording this in a toilet. I think that's hilarious. Damn. Alright, that was There's More to Life Than This. I don't know why I find this track even charming, kind of, because it's just so funny that she's like recording this in a toilet while she could do a studio version of it. But while this is like this very basic disco beat and she is on the toilet, it makes this track in a really kind of funny situation and gives that track a kind of very funny idea or concept. I don't know why I'm analyzing that even, but still I'm feeling a good 7 on that one. So let's move on to the fifth track, Like Someone in Love.
Lately, I find myself out gazing at stars. Sometimes the things I do astound me.
I don't know why I think that this track is so beautiful. There's really something for it that it's like in this weirdly recorded street. Like you can hear street noises and there are people walking and talking. And then there's this beautiful harp playing, like she's a street musician or something. and she's like has this a cover version of like Someone in Love, so beautifully sung in this very jazzy way, but there are nothing of like conventional jazz instrumentals or rhythms or anything. Just is a really beautiful little cover right here with some field recordings and makes it pretty nice and also a little bit romantic. I don't know why.
I look at you, I'm lit as a cloud and feeling lately I seem to walk in love. Each time I look at you, I'm lit as someone in love, like someone.
Well, those little strings right there coming in at the end were really beautiful and really adding to the track right there. It was like genius, and it's a weird idea I've never heard anywhere, and I think that's the beauty to Björk's music, right? You can really, I mean, previously we had There's More to Life Than This recorded in a toilet with a disco beat, and then going into like Someone in Love, one of the most beautiful tracks I've heard in the last couple of days, with beautiful strings coming in after some beautiful harp playing in the streets. How do you come up with that? But I mean, it's just like really beautiful in that track. I'm feeling a 9 on that one. So let's see where we head to next. As a 6th track, a big time sensuality. I wonder what she's writing about here. I mean, it's gonna be about maybe just like love between two persons, or just like a different thing she really enjoys. Interesting track going from like Someone in Love to this one with the heavy disco beat. It's like There's More to Life Than This without recording it on a toilet. But I think that this track is really well produced, maybe, but there are some things that sound so old 90s that I just always like think, oh damn, like the 90s were really wonky, but still interesting track. The one thing I kind of a little bit dislike is how Björk's voice is on here, or her delivery of her singing and her mixing of her voice in this kind of like lo-fi kind of weird mixed high and kind of or low end mixing. I don't know, but it sounds really weird kind of with her voice on this one, but still, I mean, it's a bop. It's really funny. I mean, you have to imagine being me right now. Listen to Fossora, really loved it, and going now into debut with so many different things just hammering at you. And I mean, it's kind of overwhelming right now. And for that, I think Big Time Sensuality is not a perfect track. I think it's alright, and I'm feeling a 6 on it. So let's move on to the seventh track, the next track, One Day.
One day it will happen. One day it will. The atmosphere will get to shine just for you. I can feel it.
Now this is like some really good trip hop actually, with some really nice drums that has this trip hop feeling. Some really interesting bass in the back I quite like a lot, and there's these different textures coming in at the beginning. It's so much, and it sounds like a really weird kind of psychedelic experience kind of in this track, One Day right here. But the songwriting wise, it's a little bit like different. The atmosphere will get light into sun's ready to shine just for you one day when you're ready, one day when you're up to it. Kind of like that. There's nothing that much of content in the songwriting right now. But anyways.
One day it will all make sense. An aeroplane will curve grace. I can feel it. Fireworks are burning in the sky.
There also has really some interesting electronics coming in right now, and this kind of very electronic trip hop side wasn't really coming up in the last tracks, in my opinion. But I like this track really much because it's kind of gets these ideas, like for example, Human Behavior had and Crying and Venus as a Boy, and forms this really nice mixture of these tracks with maybe the six tracks right here, Big Time Sensuality, with those dance ideas, because it's like beat is like on every beat and not like on 2 or 4 or 1 on 3. So it's really interesting how she's like forms these two together, and it's really unique for these kind of sounds, and makes this less conventional as a pop track or album right here, which is pretty interesting. I like this. And some really nice ambience right here at the end also, where really was kind of like a transition to the next track in Aeroplane. Yeah, very good track. I like that one. It was very, very good in every little different each. What's the right English word right now? I can't talk English right now, but anyways, I'm feeling a 9 on that one. One Day, very good track. So let's get to the 8th track, Aeroplane.
I miss you terribly when you're away in an aeroplane across the world to find.
Incredible sound right here with those really nice smooth drumming, like it's the first track, Human Behavior, and those really nice backing vocals we also had at Fossora, which Björk just like throws some background vocals in there just for as a texture or as a rhythm, or even like here as a melody, which is beautiful. And I like those deep bass on this one, which like really harmonizes with those deep drummings. Really nice. I like this track a lot so far.
Allow my heart
Also think that these sounds are very interesting. Gets these kind of like even maybe jazzy or orchestral feeling to it, which we also had at Fossora, like a lot of orchestral influences, not jazz, but orchestral. But this feels pretty interesting, kind of like a oriental jazz pop, kind of like weird trip hop track, art pop. This is wild. I don't know.
How come out of all the people in the world, only one? Hey, this ain't right. I'm alone. I'm taking an aeroplane.
Yeah, I think that track was perfect right there. Aeroplane, really good. Also, really like this really diverse ideas of sounds coming all together in this beautiful little part, and it's really good. Why can did I getting a notification right here? Anyways, I think it's a 10 right here. Come to me, really good. So yeah, I like it a lot. So let's move on to the next track, which is called Come to Me, the ninth track.
I'll take care of you, protect like you don't have to explain.
This album right now gets more beautiful and more interesting from the concepts of this track and sound wise. For example, right here, where it's the kind of like same ideas at One Day and Aeroplane coming together, and this really beautiful sound with those strings and those ambiences that also are right here on the Come to Me, and those really nice trip hop kind of drumming, and but right here it's more like top wise drumming, but still I really like what she does right here. It sounds beautiful. Her songwriting is always very, I don't know why, either has a romantic feeling or is about something more like inner between human things and stuff, but still I think she does a great job right here at encapsulating her voice into these tracks. Was a perfect production right here. It sounds really good. I thought that track was beautiful. There's nothing bad at all at that track. It's 5 minutes and it doesn't get boring. The sound is amazing. It's very sophisticated pop like, kind of like sounds something out of say maybe even the R&B and so forth. There's just so much to these tracks right now in so many different aspects. I'm just really in love with what she does on this album right here, and I'm feeling a 10 on Come to Me. Beautiful. So let's go to the next track, Violently Happy.
Violently happy, 'cause I love you. Violently happy, the ocean. Violently happy, but you're not here.
Really interesting right now and going more into the electronic dance kind of side, alternative dance, maybe even side, I don't know. With some like really interesting synthetic basses coming in that like really round kind of sounds really typical 90s disco, which is just so interesting and funny almost. The sounds in the back are amazing and kind of like it reminds me of some ambient 80s kind of techno side also. There's just so much to this track right now. Also, this instrumental break right here is really interesting, and Violently Happy is just a really interesting title, also as a concept for the songwriting of this track. But yeah, let's move on.
Violently happy. I'm aiming too high. Violently happy. I'm daring people to.
Yeah, pretty good track in my opinion. Violently Happy is the most electronic oriented track for this album, which doesn't make it bad. I quite like it for what it is, and I'm feeling an 8 on this one. Very good. So let's move on to the last track. Last track, damn, so fast. Which is called the Anchor Song. Let's go.
I live by the ocean. And during the night, this is where I'm staying. This is my home.
Really interesting how she's like pulling this last track off with this only instrumental, like solo instrumental right here with this beautiful accordion. Is that an accordion? It sounds like an accordion. And then there's like this very kind of like seaside of kind of song, right? Like I dropped my anchor, I live by the ocean. So obviously it's something like that. And it sounds really interesting kind of how she or when she sings or when the instruments come in. It's really different and has this very interesting structure of a track right here. And I like it.
Underneath all currents.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice last track to end this album with a little nice kind of singer-songwriter like single instrument track. So it was a really good album. I like this one. I'm feeling a 7 on the last track right there. And overall, I think this track list was a beautiful experience for a first album to Björk. I wonder where she heads to next, like because I listened to the end of her discography right now and the beginning, so I just really wonder what's beneath that. What's going on there? What's going on? But let's now listen or just like talk about this album right here because I think it's really beautiful as a debut, and it was like 29 years ago now when she was releasing this, and just damn, like how far she came in her sound and ideas and pulling off like concepts album with like fantasy kind of mushroom things. And right here in the album she has this one track where she's recording on a toilet with this really nice dance beat. It kind of like reminds me of some, if an artist at the beginning just have fun or has fun doing their music and just like wants to be very playful, and at the end they wants to do something very different and outer worldly and an experience, and it should be a art form kind of expression in this concept. And right here, this album just feels like she has a lot of fun, and in the songwriting, there's a lot of romantic things, and I mean, just very joyful things, and I really love it. And I think this album was very good. So yeah, see you when I give you my last thoughts on this album, and thank you for watching, and see you on the next Björk album. So yeah, I listened to this album very much. It never gets old, to be honest, because all the tracks are so different, so unique. You can listen to them for themselves or in context of the album. While one thing I felt is that some tracks really feel disconnected to the next track, while maybe even having some like parts where it jumps into the next track perfectly, but still from the sound is very different, and it kind of like sometimes throws you off. But beside that, really good album, so many good tracks. Human Behavior is really good. Venus as a Boy, so many good tracks on this album. I really love it. I'm really surprised how well this album came out for me, as the first album she ever did. Like if we exclude her 11-year-old album right there. But I mean, there also really like there is some parts of this album where I just thought she's just having fun making music, and I mean that's the thing you always have to do, or maybe is initial also maybe as a first record, just like coming into this music thing and just like doing your thing. That's great. So yeah, I really love this album, and I'm feeling a decent 8 on this one. See you on the next Björk reaction and review.